So this is at the very basic beginning. I mean, as we get into this and go deeper and get more sensitive and become more aware of as we encompass each sphere, each cycle, they can expand. You get down to eventually, we're looking at basically 12 houses and 12 signs. That's for any planet, there's 144 combinations, planet in a sign or a house. But really, if you take it further, you'll go to pentans, or you take it further, you go down to individual degrees in a zodiac. You have 360 degrees of the zodiac, 360 degrees of houses, and you have a huge number of comparisons for any one planet. So not everybody will ever need to know it to that degree. Sometimes it's useful to go that sensitive. It depends on your interest and your capacity. So right now, I'm working very hard to try and get everyone focused. We're just working with the houses this term, or this webinar. We're just going to be working through each of these categories, making them normal, making them real, expanding them so they're friends of ours and they can open up insights for us. And as we do that, we begin to take our bearings, we begin to align, we become the part of the healing factors of astrology. Once you can understand a character of a person, then you can see why, if something's happening out in the world, some good or bad things happening, you can see it's happening to who? Well, not just to who, to all of these factors. You can begin to tune in to see what area is a problem area and how you might approach something when it's at its extreme or when it's not. So the timings are the easy part. Getting the timings, knowing when things are going to, that's easy. Knowing how someone behaves, knowing their strengths and weaknesses, knowing how they put it. I mean, you know your brothers and sisters like this, whether you know the chart or not. You know your mom or dad, or you may or may not. But usually the people close to you have interwoven your matrix. They have their matrix, you have yours, but in that matrix, you each have all the signs, all the houses, all the planets, all the aspects. Everyone has all of these factors. They're just scrambled around differently. But in that scrambling, there's meaning and relevance. And sometimes you're meant to work with certain things and not with others. Sometimes you have to learn the things you don't know just so you can add insight to the things you know. So there's a lot of growth of wisdom to develop of working with associations to each of these factors. And it keeps going. I mean, whoa, what do I say? Astrology, I would not have loved you so much if I didn't love God more. So if there weren't a spiritual side to this, you'd just be measuring. So in the psychological books, they're just behavioral measuring. But it limits how far you can go with it. There's in just scientific, it's a more scientific, objective thinking, behavioral thinking. It doesn't actually do depth to personal inner development. Psychology is usually based on trying to make people harmonious social members of society, not disturbing anybody. Well, not everybody's supposed to be that. Whew. So if you're not supposed to be that and you're going to psychologists trying to make you be that, you're not going to get feeling very good about yourself. So we're all on our path. We all have our matrix. These little pieces, they'll just expand they'll open up some of the insights. We hit a nerve, you'll go along, we'll be talking about one fact, all of a sudden we'll talk about one category, and that category is crucial to you. It'll open up, and then you've got a month you'll be thinking about this because it hit the nerve. But it's just one of the many factors. And I teach this way, so we're going through all of them, but it's geared so that you have your chance to react to, you're checking yourself out against it. And once you've done this for your whole chart, it's not hard to help someone else with their chart. It's not like you ever know someone else. You're seeing how someone else has their matrix different than you. And you often can learn from them how to deal with things differently. And likewise, you might have some other ideas for them. That's real counseling. It's really a tuning in. So my point is, it's not just a psychological process. It's a process of how your soul came into life, got angry, picked up attitudes, picked up dimensions of consciousness, picked up areas of concern to function in, and is manifesting through that. It's crystallizing its energy to gain experience, but eventually that experience will blossom so that it's no longer the separating experience. It becomes a more wholesome integrity that's encompassing it all, almost without words. So there's so many interesting people who have written so many things about astrology, and everybody writes a book they have something great in it, and then they add 5 or 10 things that may or may not be. So I don't use any books in my classes. Now the books that I use, I like Dane Rudhyar, and he has a bit more psychological, humanistic, Jungian approach, but with a theosophical side. So he has a sort of spiritual side to it originally. His book on the signs of the zodiac, The Pulse of Life, it's called, The Zodiac or The Pulse of Life. That's his book on the signs of the zodiac. That's a nice book. He goes through the sequences of things there. His book on the houses is really a brilliant book, The Astrological Houses, The Spectrum of Individual Experience, with Dane Rudhyar, DaneRudhyar, The Astrological Houses. That's a really brilliant book about the houses and increasing the depth and insight in the houses. I used it extensively in my beginnings. Now I don't use it because words have evolved a little bit from how he would have used them. But a lot of his basic concepts are similar to the way that I teach. Well, of course, Rudhyar was linked up with Jones, who was linked up with Theosophy, who had a really spiritual side. But most of the really mystical spiritual astrologers, their books are there, that information is there, but everyone else is making so much noise to study it psychologically or study it this way. You don't know these other things are there. And even when you run across it, you don't know how to absorb all the information. So if you just keep doing charts, working on taking the extra time to do each of these areas, and you get to know them well, by the time your sensitivity sphere increases to include the transits and the progressions and more deeper techniques, it will blossom. And all of a sudden you have this rose growing in your garden. That's you. So how to make it yours, how to make it real, when someone has a complex, how to go through the categories and say, oh, that's got to be a Venus thing. Which layer is it? A sign? Is it a house? Which layer is it affecting? Which area? These are the areas of where we're going to with it. And yeah, no, that's okay. So I really work the most with these factors before I ever bring something into the houses. The actual keywords for the houses, I have them, I know them. They're sort of background, they're there. I can pull them out when needed, but I don't say, oh, your son's in the second house, you got to have money. Although having values and whatever you feel is important, you'll feel is very valuable, that will be there. If you have the sun up in the 10th house, it doesn't mean you're only going to be ambitious in career. It just means you'll have a fairly high status in life. But because you have the high status in life, you may lack depth. So you begin to play around the wheel and see if there's a strength one way, where's the weakness? If there's a light side here, where's the dark side? And where's the wholesomeness around what we're trying to be? So the horoscope is really your wholesomeness and how you're approaching the wholesomeness. And learning how to do it is a big part of it. So many people know bits about astrology. And the interesting thing is you know a little bit about one part of it, and it can still work. You can still talk to people and people can relate to it. But to integrate it all and have it come together in a way that's wholesome and collective, to have the whole symphony playing together properly in perspective, that's a special insight. There's a special way of thinking. It's a special way of process. It takes time to do that. And if you just take the time at the beginnings and build this up, by the time you get through my classes, you're ready to approach any other classes that come in and expand them and specialize in your own right, in your own way. But you won't have blank spots or blind spots where you're missing things. Ooh.